Good morning or afternoon. This is Michael Rattay with the Braintrust Networking, the podcast, the hit podcast based on the wonderful networking series. We've been meeting close to 6 years in person and on Zoom. We are a group of small business owners, entrepreneurs that have found a space, found the time to collaborate and share ideas together. And what we decided in this digital age is the end of our meetings, we're going to basically take our conversation, record it, and then put it online for a podcast, just so everyone gets to basically share some of the knowledge that we're sharing with each other, and hopefully it'll help future business owners or other entrepreneurs. So I will introduce the group really fast. Ginny Kanzioka, do you mind starting?
Sure. I'm Ginny Kanzioka, graphic designer and artist.
Thank you. Brian Martin, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Brian. I'm with Bio1. We're a biohazard cleanup company. Help first, business second.
Thank you. Rosetta Metz.
Hi, I'm Rosetta Metz with Let Us Organize. Let us organize your life.
Lita Bunting.
Hi, Lita with Znimka Creations, professional photo manager. Spend time making memories, not managing them.
Thank you. Hori.
Even with CF Financial, I work with small, medium-sized businesses on a range of financial issues, interim fractional CFO, budgeting, and financial analysis.
And Laura.
Laura Levine, Geiger Promotions for all your branding, swag, and merch needs.
And I am Michael Rattay, photos and videos. Let's go with Creative Family Memories as the business that I'm promoting. Family video memoirs and family photos. We got spring coming up. So today we were talking about time management, and Rosetta, being an organizer, is someone that I think helps. She's a good authority on this subject. So Rosetta, do you mind starting or letting us know about the lists?
Well, just one of the things I was mentioning earlier was that you just want to kind of have a list either at the end of the day or in the beginning of your day in the morning. So you kind of have an agenda and know exactly what you need to work on, and you're not moving, all over the place and not getting anything done. And on that list, it should probably be something that should get done. Maybe your top 3 or top 2 items that need to get done. Because if everything is on that list and nothing's prioritized, then nothing will get done. So I don't know if anybody else does that. I used to have somebody that I used to help, and they would make little index cards every night at the end of the day. And those cards would go with, they were salespeople. So it would go with their client, whoever they were going to work on that day. And it would just be all set up so that the next day they're ready to rock and roll and get it done.
I love lists. I mean, I live by my lists. And I heard a saying, someone said, write it down so that you can forget. So it's like you've got all this stuff in your head. And if you just do that brain dump, then you can kind of clear your mind and then focus on what needs to be focused on.
Yeah.
That is an amazing, write it down so you can forget. And this is something I wanted to, this will be another discussion, but I think decision making, I feel like that's another thing that I found myself like roadblocked by, like literally choosing something. And I think that's a very mental, that's a roadblock that we need to overcome. So write it down so you can forget. That's amazing. Does anyone else want to add to the list, or?
Did you just write that down?
I did.
So
but it's funny, I write it down to remember and then to forget, because I do believe, like, I'm the visual person where I believe that once it's written down, you kind of see it better, and then it's like also so Rosetta, how do you do this? Do you do loose leaf or do you do a notebook?
So well, I do it on my phone. And then I also love to have it in front of me on a book, because I like to do that check mark. But when you were just talking about decision fatigue, and that we're going to do that next time, to add with this though, a lot of times here's a real simple example of having that decision fatigue. Just getting up in the morning is having your clothes ready or what you're going to wear the night before, because sometimes you don't even want to get up because you're like, oh, I don't even know what I'm going to wear. I don't know if I have clean clothes, or you have stuff on your treadmill or whatever it is that that's become your closet, and you don't even know where to start to get dressed. So a lot of times that alone drains your day. So if you're kind of have simple things in place, and like where your coffee is, your tea, or whatever it is, it'll kind of help your day get a little bit smoother, I think, start.
Another thing that I really like doing, and it kind of goes back to the time management, is I've recently put together my weekly time block. So like I have 4 major goals that I'm trying to hit on through the week. And so I block out, okay, what part of the day on Monday am I working on goal 1? What part of the week am I working on business development? What part of the week? And it's time blocked. So like if I get distracted, if I'm working on something and I go down some sort of rabbit hole, I look at my time blocking schedule. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm supposed to be working on goal number 2. And so having that visual and having it blocked out, having it planned out for me in advance, I don't have to choose. There's no decision making. It's been chosen for me. Today is goal number 3. Go work on it. So that has helped me with time management and the decision fatigue.
Have you ever done that Pomodoro?
Yeah. So sometimes, but for me, like if I'm working on a big project, I need to like just roll up my sleeves and like really focus for 2-3 hours. So for me to take a break at like the 45 or at the 50, it'll ruin the momentum.
Momentum.
So
a lot of times, people
I was
have
going to say,
to
for those of us who
do
aren't
that.
aware of what that is, can you
Oh,
explain?
so what that is you would set your timer, basically something on your phone, and you would work straight 25 minutes, and you're focused on what you're working on. Then you just take a 5-minute break. Then you do it again for another 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break. So you just keep doing this until it gets accomplished. And for a lot of people, they need that 5-minute break because they can't sit still. So it just kind of helps them.
What Lita's saying, I think that's the difference between like a flow state of working and like taxes, right? Like I think because like when you're into it, you don't need the pause, but I think you're kind of, that's almost like a way to convince yourself to do something you hate, where it's just like, just do it for 20 minutes and then be done. Because obviously flow state stuff, you don't need to tell me to play drums for like 5 minutes, like 20 minutes, like I'll just do it. But like, we've been talking about taxes for 2 weeks. So like I need 15 minutes. So yeah. So that's where I think something like that is important, and also understanding your flow state, but that's a whole other decision thing.
That's kind of like the eat the frog type of task.
Right.
You don't want to get it done. You just don't want to do it.
Well, yeah, sometimes when it's been a long time since I've done laundry and like have like the big pile of stuff to put away, like I will set a timer and it's like, all right, let's see how much of it I can put away in 5 minutes or 10, and then it becomes more of like a game and kind of fun as opposed to the boring chore that we all hate doing.
It really is. Yeah. Gamified chores and gamified learning is a real and that's also, this is a deeper thing, but understanding our triggers. I read this one book, and I don't know if you guys it's literally called Triggers, but that's like, because basically what are we doing? Are we doing time management or decision? Because we're kind of doing systems, right? Because Rosetta, when you were talking about the gym clothes, there was something I read that, and I don't want to say his name to make things political, but like he was, his thing was systems. And it's like, instead of thinking about your gym clothes in the morning, it's like you literally set it out at night. So you don't have to think about what you're going to wear. You just know you're going to the gym. Like that's your sale. Your sale is getting you to the gym. Once you're at the gym, like the sale is done, but it's like really getting you out of the house. And so that's where I think some of the systems is what they had talked about. So
That's what
Well,
I usually do. I put my gym clothes out the night before, so I know what I'm going to wear. I like Laura's idea about doing the easiest thing on the list just to get it done. But
mhm.
I was working on a big project for Museum Explorer, and I got to the point where I had to start getting quotes for printing some of these materials. And so what I did was I did all the stuff that I knew could be printed, which was easy because I do a lot of print. And then I left the hardest part, which was it's a game that's being packaged that Museum Explorer wants to sell through museum gift shops. So then that part, I did a separate sheet with examples of what everything looks like. So I have the layout for the box where all the pieces are going into it, and the game board and the spinner. And so I had that, and then there's a piece of corrugated that covers the spinner so that the instructions could sit on that for the game. So I broke it all down like that and sent it out. And fortunately, the printer that I sent it to connected me with a person whose job is actually creating packaging. And she mocked up the box for me, and it looks fabulous. So I'm really excited because this project is going to happen.
See, that's you have touched on almost like three things of like one, the importance of networking.
Yeah.
And like, you just kind of reached out and then it's like a new level of things that you didn't even realize. So I want that just thing to let everyone know this is and all of us, the only reason we all know each other is because of networking and small business. I should also add that like any relationship we've formed is through that. So I think if you're starting a business, go and find a local networking group. You'll find motivated people. And that's what I always like with my friends, like, why don't you guys want to do stuff? But then it's like, oh, here's the motivated people. So so I love that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
pause. Okay, and so you don't notice any time space, but David Levine just joined us. David, you want to give us a quick intro of who you are?
Well, sorry, I'm late. David Levine. I'm your virtual professional. I help small businesses get found and monetize their websites.
And that's one of the benefits of Zoom networking, everybody, is that you can show up late, no one's offended, and it's okay. So at least in this group, I'm sure it happens in other groups, but we don't I think that's time management. Like Zoom has been one of the most, I learned how to do video editing with clients over Zoom. And I was like, why am I bringing my whole rig next to them? Like we could just have a call. You could see my screen. It's like, that saves me 3 hours, 4 hours a day of packing everything up. So that, I don't know, that's the time management. That's like a decision thing. Does anyone want to jump in on it? Corey, do you want to let's hear from you?
So there's mention about things like the gym, and I don't know about you guys. I like going to the gym, but I always feel like there's mental hurdles. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to go. It's cold. It's this. It's early. But I was mentioned about like gym clothes being put out. Like, I think sometimes where I'm going with this is like things that might be considered hard or uncomfortable. It's easier, I think, to like, if you can like take one off or multiple things off that, like reduce the roadblocks to doing it, starting it, whatever it is. I think that's really helpful because look, I think we all know, like, yeah, doing things that are hard, it can get very frustrating, right? And whatever, where you could focus more time on the actual task at hand and reduce again, like, whatever it is, little things, big things, I think makes them a lot more actionable, especially when we're talking about being organized, right? Because sometimes, as we know, it's like those hard things may be on our to-do list. At some point, we do have to presumably handle it, accomplish it, or tackle it. So anything along the way that just makes it easier or less difficult to either one, dive in or dive right in, or two, to get it done helps. And even like taking out gym clothes, for example, makes going to the gym that, that's one less thing to worry about or even use as an excuse to yourself as to why you can't go. So
Yeah.
Well,
Lita, if you want to.
Yeah, so somebody once mentioned to me, they're like, well, break your goals down into like the teeniest, tiniest micro goals. So if we're talking about the whole gym thing, someone has not been going to the gym and they want to start, instead of being like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow and I'm going to work out for 2 hours. No, let's start with something small. How about you put on your shoes tomorrow?
Yeah.
Put on your shoes. And then the next day, put on your shoes and get in the car. And then the day after that, put on your shoes, get in the car, and drive to the gym. So it's like really like getting
Baby
it
steps.
as small baby steps.
Somebody mentioned to me, I don't know, a week ago that because I told them I go to the gym 3 days a week for a workout class, and then I go on Tuesdays to the cardio room. And he said, I wish I had that kind of drive. And I said, well, go to a class and make friends there, and then you'll want to go to the gym.
Yeah,
It's
use
as
that
easy as that.
accountability.
And I've been going to the Y since like 1985. So, and I did switch gyms at one point because we had a nasty person running things there for a while. So, but yeah, I've been religiously going, and I've tried a lot of different classes too. So,
I think probably right around COVID or with the kids, I just stopped, because it was like one day you get an hour and a half. So we got a bike at home. And so I've like, even that becomes difficult. I was like, how the hell? But Ginny, that's like, that's exactly it. I totally even spaced it. Like, you really find a new community there, and
yeah.
that's what it's about. Like, that makes it easier, right? Because it's usually, well, it's almost breaking down our fears, right? Like, it's almost, because that's what a roadblock is, right? The roadblock is almost a fear. And so how do you actually confront it? That's that's the existential question, I think, of humanity.
Well, even during the pandemic, I still exercise. I would go out in the morning at 6:30 in the morning and walk through my neighborhood. I'd wear a mask, and if I saw people, near me, I would cross the street, but I would put in at least 20, 30 minutes. And then sometimes I would go into my studio. I have some weights, so I would do some of the things that we did in the core class that I used to take. And so I kept up with it. And I actually, by the time I was able to go back to the workout class, I had lost weight.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like COVID was interesting. I lost weight because I stopped drinking. I had some stuff with my dad, so
Whereas
I stopped
everyone
drinking,
else,
but it was
like,
A lot of
I
people did
upped
the
my drinking
opposite.
during
I
COVID.
know. That's what everyone said. Everyone's like, "Wow, I'm doing it more." I was like, "Do you know how hard it is to be with two young kids and be hungover?" Like,
Can't do it.
so
Well,
Which is
Ginny,
even-
when during COVID, I used to run all the time. I still run, but I used to run, and I used to, all these people started coming to the forest preserve, and I was so upset. I was like, this is my forest preserve. Where are you people coming from? And I used to call the other people zombies because in the beginning, we didn't really know what we were dealing with. So I would be like, my girlfriend would laugh at me because I'd be like, all right, we're going to pass these people. So I would be like, she'd be like, oh, zombie alert, so that we would sprint. And that's all we were doing was ended up that we were sprinting our whole time we were running because I had to get around the people.
But once again, that's kind of going back to making like the game out of it, or
Yes.
like, right,
Yeah,
like
I would take music
like,
with me, and I would take pictures of interesting things that I'd see on my route when I walk around. There's this really cool house on the corner of Costner and Grace, and it's got a beautiful backyard. And I just love it. But it's not what I would buy because it was a frame house, and Bill won't let me buy a house that's a frame house. So we have a brick house, but it had a really cool backyard, and I would take pictures of that. And then somebody had little gnomes set out in the corner area by the street, where the two streets meet. I thought that was kind of cool. So, and eventually I plan to make a collage out of all this. I hope.
My wife read this, I don't know if it was a blog, a book, from a person named Gretchen Rubin. And they talk about upholders, questioners, rebels, and obligers. And I got to be honest, because like whenever I say I'm going to do something, I get it done. And, it's, I guess, because I'm an upholder and it drives my wife crazy. I'm like, just make a list. And I realize that not everybody, if I say I'm going to do something and I make a list and I put 10 things on that list, come hell or high water, I'm getting it done, which I know is very not normal, especially when, working with other clients and having had employees work for me for years. It would drive them crazy. I would say, this is the project. And they're like, it's a freaking Christmas order. It's not a project. And I'm like, no, everything's a project. Everything has a beginning. Everything has milestones, everything. And, how I was able to get 3,500 gifts out for one client during, in 9 days during the Christmas season once. It was actually more than once, but it was every year for 3 years. And I was actually in Israel while I was doing it. It was because I managed it like a project. So like I really think there's, from having experience with other people, not just family members, but clients and employees. I don't think there's like one way. So like, where Lita said, you start off by putting your shoes and then putting your shoes on one day and what have you. I think everybody has to find their own way to do it. Because when I was recovering and they told me to start, walking, I walked every day religiously. And it turned from a walk from my house to 2 houses down to eventually I was walking for an hour every morning. But that was me because I'm crazy. They said, do it. I did it. But I know that I'm not, I think everybody has to find their own way to do it. And I don't think it's like necessarily we could just say, just do it. It's not like a Nike commercial.
No.
But I think
I think that's the fun of it too. And I think that's where I think there's what I think is good about like people, like the viewer connects, that's the whole, like when the student is ready, the teacher appears kind of thing. Like, it's like we've sort of said 4 different ways. And I think someone will hear, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm the crazy nut like Mike. So like, I'll do, I'll organize that. So I think that's what I think the beauty is of the podcast is that it's kind of presenting, the idea and the conclude or why we're doing it. And then everyone can sort of make their assumption. And so, yeah, I think that's great. I wanted to add go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to add to what David was saying. So it's like, a personality type like David, when I'm working with my clients, what I do, and I help them with their processes and their procedures, I always have a checklist at the end of it. And then I tell them, we figure out what are those things that have to be done no matter what. And then that way it helps the owner or the person in charge, like David, that's like, no, this has to be done. There's no question about it. And then it also helps the person that has to do it because they're like, oh, I can't forget these 4 things. So that's just another way of helping.
Rosetta is, and then this is where David doesn't need this, obviously, but like Rosetta, what you're helping, and I don't think we kind of don't need this, but this is also what this group is like external accountability. Like that's the hardest thing I think for a lot of these roadblocks is like just us getting, gaining weight. It affects our lives and it affects, maybe 1 or 2 people involved with us, but it's not, like it's hard to see those immediate accountability things for that. So I think, I don't know if that's what I'm trying to get at, but I also wanted to add 2 things. And if anyone wants to finish, the Checklist Manifesto, I don't know if you guys have read that book, but it's just like Checklist Manifesto. It's like everywhere from pilots to a lot of people that do very difficult things. That's what they do. So I want to advise that we were hinting at this and I wanted to say Eat the Frog. Lita had mentioned that before we started recording, but Eat the Frog is another very good decision approaching book. And yes, I think there are 2. You either eat the frog, do the hardest thing first, or you do the easiest thing and build momentum to I think both are valid and whatever connects, that's why we do it. So, anyone have final thoughts?
Nope. I think this was a great discussion.
Yeah.
Great discussion, guys.
Me too. Thanks, everybody. This is so again, we're Braintrust Networking, the podcast. This is episode 3 or 4 if I released the solo thing last week. It's 4 because I did a solo one last week, but I didn't release it. So that's why I don't know if I should call it 3 or 4. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone. And be well.
We got you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.